Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the very first digital meetup for From the Table. And this is just a little really quick video gathering that's going to happen every month with the community of people who are involved in this Around the Table newsletter that you get. And so each month I will have something to share with you that I hope will bring some life to you and to the people that you live with, whether they're family or friends or someone else. And so today we're going to talk about making meals meaningful. I'm not here to try to fix anything on your list, to change anything about what you're already doing, but really just to notice the really important parts or the sacredness of the ordinary life that we live every day. Dinner does not have to be fancy. It doesn't need to be home cooked. It doesn't need to be gourmet or anything to be meaningful. What it needs to be meaningful is we just need to be present with each other. And that's really what this is all about. If you think about what makes a meal memorable, if you can remember to yourself, like, when's the last time I had a meal that I really actually remember? And for me, it was just last weekend. It wasn't the weekend, it was this week. I was with a friend Monday night. I had gone to Austin to speak at a conference on Tuesday, and I stayed with a friend of mine who lives in Austin on Monday night. And I just happened to be there for the birthday dinner of their son, who was turning 32 years old. He is a person with autism, and so I got to be in this dinner celebration at the restaurant where he wanted to go, which was this hamburger place that had really good burgers. But the conversation around that picnic table was really fun and really gave me insight into their everyday life and the ordinariness of their dinners every night. And that's the most memorable meal that comes to mind for me recently. It's really not the food or the any one thing that makes a meal memorable. It's a combination of all of those things. First, let me show you my family. These are the people that I share my meals with. These are our kids here, and one of the grandbabies, and the oldest grandbaby. These are all the grandchildren. And then I just wanted to share with you my son's band. This is Pete, he's my son, and this is his band. They're called the Flems. And so if you are a punk rocker, maybe you should look them up. The Flems, like Phlegms. But they're really great people. It was really fun to have them here in our home. And we shared some great meals together with great conversations. 91% of parents would say that having a meal together, when they have meals together as a family, they notice that there's less stress around the house, that it just helps a lot when you share meals. And so that's the gist of this story. But one of the things that I think would be fun for us to think about is what was going on when you were growing up? Like, what do you remember about meals growing up? One of the things that comes to my mind always is the holiday meals, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the meals where we really make an effort to make fancy foods or different foods and all the relatives come and stuff. But one of the things that would happen around the table at my house when I was a kid, I was the fourth of five kids. And so we always had a big full table. And then my oldest brothers and sisters started having babies when I was a teenager. But this is one thing that we would do at the table. And is if there was a high chair at the table with a little toddler in it, sometimes in the middle of the conversation, without saying a word, someone at the table would just start doing something silly, like tapping their head. And we would all notice and we would all start tapping our head and we'd be watching that baby to see if they would imitate. And eventually the baby would almost always begin to tap their head. And then when we might move it to tapping our nose and just playing this game with this baby as a group was fun. And it was something that was meaningful to all of us as a family. We all loved that baby. That baby wanted to be a part of the conversation and a part of the meal. And this allowed us to do this together. It's just a really sweet memory for me. And one I thought that, excuse me, that you might be able to do around your table if you happen to have a little kid. When you think back to a meal that did more than just satiate your stomach, more than made you full, what was happening in that meal? That would be a question I would love for you to think about and ponder. And then another one would be what happens at your meals now that brings you joy or makes you feel connected with other people. I remember during COVID when we were all isolated at home, sometimes we would have meals together with our kids who lived in other states just through FaceTime. And we would just pull up our screens and we would eat together. And even that is a way to connect over a meal and made it special. Let's see. So, some things that you can do, I'm just going to share just a few ideas that you can do around the table that will help build the connection. And these are things that I'm sure that you already know about. But this first one is the whole idea of rose and thorns. And you've probably heard this analogy in a lot of different, using different words. But it's just where you think about what was the best part of your day and what was the hardest part of your day. The rose is the best part, the thorns are the hardest part. With very young children, you could use different words. You could say, when were you happy today? And did anything make you sad today or mad today? And that those would be some words that might make a little bit more sense for them. If you want to take it just one step further, one thing that you can add is what was a thorn, what was the rose, and what's a rose bud? Or the bud is the thing that you are looking forward to. And so that would be another step if you wanted to add one more. An interesting statistic is that 80% of teenagers say that if they're going to talk to their parents at all, the most likely place that they're going to talk to their parents is at the dinner table. And so that's one good reason to establish a kind of a routine of dinner together, at least a few nights a week, where the whole family sits down and eats a meal together. So that when you do get to these adolescent years, if you're not already there, you've kind of set a foundation and a routine or a habit in your house of eating meals together. I remember whenever our kids were teenagers, Kent used to call it, they just were cocooning. They just would go inside themselves and they would just build this wall around it, how it is with teenagers. And they didn't like to talk, and at least to us. And that was fine. We understood it. But what we did at meals during those years is we had a lot of years where we just played speed Scrabble while we ate our dinner. We didn't necessarily talk so much. We talked about the game, but we would just play together. And that got us through those kind of hard years where things could get a little bit prickly between members of the family because everybody's in their own cocoon. Okay, so that's one thing is the rose and the thorn, the best and hardest part of the day. Another thing that you can do is say something that you are grateful for. And this is easy. And even the littlest kids, even a toddler, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, even children as young as that can think of something that they're thankful for. It might be something random, but it might be something that would make everybody laugh a little bit too. And so just thinking about what you're grateful for is a way to shift the atmosphere a little bit as you are eating your meal. And then the last thing is to light a candle at the table. There's just something about candlelight that makes a moment special. And I love candles. I think that they really do bring about a sense of peace somehow. I don't know how that is, but it can be peaceful. And if you have young children at the table, I would just encourage you to go for it anyways. We don't want to, of course, put a candle where a kid could swat at it or knock it over or anything like that, but one that's out of reach that you can watch. That's very mesmerizing for all of us, but it's very mesmerizing for a little kid who takes the time to really watch that flame. But it signifies to everybody that this isn't just a meal. This is a moment. This is a time for us to be together and to be present with each other and to make it just a little bit special, even if you are eating takeout from Chick-fil-A around the table. One way that you can involve little children with candles is if they're able, and you could maybe hand over hand with this, maybe with a lighter, you could help let them light the candle. They'll love doing that. But kids really do love to blow the candles out, just like on a happy birthday cake. And you might let the candle be blown out many times. But anyways, just letting them participate in any way is going to get them engaged and present with you in the meal. Because it's really not about doing more. It's just about showing up with just a little bit more heart, a little bit more intention, a little bit more thought to what it is that you're talking about and how you're being with each other. And my encouragement would be for you to just choose one of these things, the good and hard part of your day, something that you're thankful for, and to light a candle that's going while you're talking about these things. And then at the end of the meal, blow it out. And that just signifies, okay, go do your things now. We're going to go do bath. We're going to go do bed. We're going to go watch TV or whatever it is that you do at night. That is it. That's all I'm going to mention about this. I would like to tell you about this cookbook. Barbara Costello, she is Brunch with Babs, I believe, on Instagram. She's somebody I follow, and I really think she's got some really great ideas and content out there that supports families and meals and all of those kinds of things. She's lots of fun. But anyway, she's got this new cookbook, and I ordered it just so I could support her as an entrepreneur, but also I wanted to see what she had in her book. And it's a really pretty cool cookbook for families, especially if you want to try to create a routine. She has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every day of the week. It's a same theme for each day of the week. And anyways, it's just an interesting way to do meal planning, and I wanted to share this book with you. I think it's worth the look at. And so that is it. I hope that this kind of gets you some ideas for things that you can do with your family. And I just want to say, may your table be a place of laughter, listening, and moments that remind you that life really is sweet. I know it's overwhelming, I know it's stressful, but underneath all that, it is really sweet. So that is all. And thank you for joining me here. Here's how you can find me if you are interested. I'm always willing to talk. I've loved talking to you. Okay. See you next time.